Hello, everybody. How's everyone going?
What's going on?
Hey, Rick.
Hey Ross, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Staying busy as you, I, I guess,
Love it. Love it. Hey, Robert.
as always.
Hi Ross, hi everyone.
Thanks for joining today. Got some exciting updates today. Stoked to share with everybody. Just gonna give it a quick second for some other people to join in here. People coming in from the Discord. Here we go. Lucas, I just saw your message in Discord too, by the way. Sorry I didn't respond. I'll get back to you.
No worries at all.
Been working on getting that optimized this week.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah. Cool. Well, as we get more people in here, the main things we're going to be talking about today is the lead generation and auto calendar booking updates alongside some of the other updates that we've been working on in the back end. So there's a two-pronged approach that we've been working on the last couple of weeks. The first is finishing out or rounding out the lead generation aspects of the platform, which we got finished and completed today, earlier this morning. So I'll be able to show you guys some videos and demos of that and how that works, which is super exciting. It's gonna be amazing. And where that kind of leads us to, which is the Google integration, auto calendar, auto booking of appointments to a calendar, and then how that then kind of opens us up to different opportunities to start doing different functions and connecting with different platforms. So to review, and if anybody has any questions at any time, just interrupt me, put your hand up or something, and feel free to ask. And we'll do general Q&A after I show some of these updates as well. So just to review what we completed last week, which was the first round of the lead generation updates, which allows you to now create a custom lead collection form and essentially add any sort of fields that you want. So you can add any of our default fields, but you can also create your own custom fields and have them be a text, number, email, checkbox, whatever it may be. And this is important because this is going to be taken away in a second, and I'll show you. I'll explain what that means. So as it is set up right now and today, you are able to go in here and create a custom form. And then when somebody enters in the data for that form, you can have that data be sent to a webhook URL, which could be something in your CRM. It could be a Zapier webhook, it could be anything. And that's where all of the data is going to be sent. And so this is the typical what you might expect from a lead generation form. And we can simply see what that would look like by getting the share link and going here. That's probably because it's not enabled. Make this required.
I heard you, baby.
What questions did we have? Yeah. When somebody enters in this information, that data is going to be sent to this webhook URL. And so you can see, if you go in here, you can see this is past data that was sent in by people. So this is cool, but this is still not like the full game here. Where this gets really exciting is when we can start defining these values inside of the conversation. And so what that looks like is like this. So this is going to be an update that's going to be rolled out to everyone by no later than Thursday. We're hoping to get this out by tomorrow. And what's going to be changed is there's going to be a drop down that says, I want to collect this in the form prior to the conversation starting, which is what we're doing right here, right now, or collect in chat during the conversation with the chatbot. And so what's going to happen is if you have that, if you select that as the drop down, what's going to happen is the chatbot is going to be trained to essentially ask you to answer those questions before it starts asking or answering any other questions. So in this example, it says, please provide your name and your email. And so in this example, he can write in his email and it says, thank you for providing your email. Now it says, please provide me with your full name. So he enters in his full name. And all of that data, similarly to how it was collected in the lead chat form, is added inside the values and the fields that are attributed to that lead or that conversation. And just like the form, all of that data is going to be hit to the webhook when those fields are filled out. So you can essentially have lead qualification happen or data collection happen in the chat. And then all of that data could be sent to your CRM to then do qualification metrics upon it. So the power of this now allows you to kind of have a two-pronged approach. You could have a lead chat form on the front end that maybe just collects their email. And then inside the chat, you're asking qualification questions, and they're going to answer those questions. And then then you could train the bot to prompt them to eventually book a meeting, which is where we're leading things to. So I know that's kind of maybe a little confusing. Does anybody have any questions or any way I can, maybe help clarify that at all? Or does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yeah, I think
Nah,
we're just gonna
it's
play with
amazing.
it.
Cool. So we've been working pretty hard on this. The last kind of little tweaks or changes that we need to implement prior to releasing this to everybody is just making sure that we're fully testing it for different use cases. The other thing I'd like to mention is this is only going to work with ChatGPT 4. So 3.5, it works maybe 20% of the time, maybe 30% of the time. It's just not reliable. So as it stands right now, we're probably going to be forcing it to be used to, like, you have to have ChatGPT 4 to be enabled in order to have this functionality. Otherwise, it's going to have more errors than it's going to work, and then it's going to cause problems. That's something to note. With this also, just for everyone's awareness, the way that we're doing this essentially is we're appending when you select collect chat in chat during conversation, that is in our code is actually adding a little bit of a new a bit of new code or a bit of new text appended to your base system prompt. So there's nothing that you need to do or tell your customers to add in order for this to function correctly. As long as they say collect in chat, the chatbot will know I need to collect these in chat and not answer any questions until those values are collected. Eventually, we will open that up to everyone, similarly to how we open that up with our prompt template. But just like we have, big warnings here right now, that'll be something that we kind of restrict or heavily warn people not to mess with. We try, just like everything else, we're trying to make it so that way it's super easy for both us as agencies and for our end businesses and customers to use this in the way that we intend, and expect it to act. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff. Any questions on that? Any lead generate any ideas that you guys might have or like to see? Just trying to vibe it out.
Could there be a way to check a calendar to sort of offer potential appointments? So, like, oh, we've got slots here, here, and here in somebody's calendar. Would any of these be suitable? You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Tim, do you want to show that? Maybe?
Sorry, I was on mute.
Oh.
Yeah, I think. Do you mean in the OpenAI playground, basically?
Yeah, I just want to show what you're working on because we got it. We figured it out. It's like we to a T what you just said is how it's working.
Yeah, let me share my screen.
So let me just have Tim show you.
Okay, so I assume you all can see my screen at this point, and we've been working on this code for a while also working on the other stuff. We have it connected kind of to the Google Calendar, so it does pull the availability based on some rules we've set up. You can kind of see this simulation of how this would work. And here is where we would input the availability just initially for the chatbot, so it gets this in the prompt. But the chatbot would also have the ability to call functions dynamically and to kind of verify, right? Oh yes, this is still available, it's still ready to go, and let me go ahead and schedule it. So we have a basic base system prompt here. This one is actually about Stammer. This is going to be for our chatbot that, we'll start trying to schedule meetings with, people like yourself in order to kind of pitch them the capabilities of this platform. But as you can see, it's pretty simple. I'm just telling the chatbot the goal is always to get a person to schedule a meeting. We want it to be 30 minutes long. List times over the next 3 days. This stuff would likely be configurable, of course, not only through you just writing your own base system prompt, but maybe also as some settings we have behind the scenes. And then here's the simulation I ran through. So I can actually, so we can see it live, it's actually working. I can just submit this. The user's kind of asking how much is Stammer. It's giving some information here about our pricing plans. And then once it's giving some information, it's going to actually ask the user to schedule a time. Would you like to schedule a meeting to discuss these plans in more details? Obviously, we may change the format of this. Maybe we'd mention the day of the week or do it in a simpler format or something. But I, as the user, can then say, okay, how about 10:18 at 2:30 p.m.? And this is, of course, a simple example, but the chatbot will be able to handle more complex scenarios like back and forth. And then at this point, what would actually happen is ChatGPT would alert our code and say, hey, guys, the customer has scheduled a meeting. Now it's time for you to go execute this function, this code. And so our code would handle all the cool stuff that needs to be done, like talking to Zoom to actually schedule the meeting, perhaps sending an invitation to the customer based on some parameter, so based on something you define. And then maybe calling, your CRM and
All in the
letting,
webhook. Yeah. So
yeah,
the
exactly.
same way the lead generation works, like you'll have all of the data, anything that was collected in the actual form, plus the day of the meeting that was scheduled, plus whatever is returned back from Zoom and or Google. And all of that data could be sent to your CRM to update your pipeline or your client's pipeline.
That's super cool. Timothy, yeah, thanks for that. That's brilliant. Ross, I'm not sure if you remember last time we spoke, I was asking you about sort of an appointment setting program effectively, and you suggested high level. And I've had a look into that, and I've just been trying to work out a way to get it to check a calendar and then offer those appointments to the tenants. So yeah, I mean, fantastic. I can't wait to nick this off you.
Perfect. Yeah. We're super excited to get that out, not only for ourselves, but like for everybody, because
Yeah, for
that's the
sure.
one. I mean, in the last probably 36, 48 hours, we've had a dozen plus people be like, when's it coming out? Like, we're going as
yeah,
fast as we
sign me
can.
up, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one thing which I've also been thinking about, because a lot of what I'm thinking of is sort of contractors and their site operatives going to various properties. I want to try and minimize the travel distance in between each one. So I was thinking, would there be a way to use postcodes or Google Maps or something to say, right, this is the first appointment that gets booked on that day. Every other appointment I want to be booked within a 2 mile radius or 5 mile radius or whatever. so obviously I think that I'd probably need a call to Google Maps or something to be able to do that. Another way I was thinking, could you do it by, we call them postcodes in the UK, zip codes for you guys. So in the UK, you've usually got 3 or 4 numbers at the start, which gives you the broad area, and then 3 digits at the end, which narrows it down. So I was thinking maybe you could sort of group it by, the first 4 digits, for example, or 5 digits. So as you're sort of narrowing down that area. So I was just wondering if something like that might be very specialist, obviously, but might be possible.
So one of the things that Tim was alluding to is this thing called function calling, and it's basically what that means is having ChatGPT actually run other code for us. And so one of the things that we'll probably do, not only for that use case that you just mentioned, but a few other more edge use cases, at least to start, is we'll provide the ability for you to maybe enter in your Google Maps API key, for example. I know that's probably not even real, I don't think, but for example, but essentially we will provide the infrastructure that will allow you to then create and train the chatbot by pulling the data manually via whatever platform you want to do it. The other simple example that we were using, this is actually one that OpenAI provides, is being able to pull current weather data. So if you ask the chat, what's the weather in San Francisco? Oh, it's raining, or whatever. So that's that kind of idea. And what we need to do in our platform is calendar booking is the first one that kind of opens the door to this idea of function calling, which then allows us to identify other use cases like that, to then figure out how can we take this data from over here and integrate it within our systems. That way it becomes usable to you.
Okay, cool.
So that will probably, I don't want to like put a hard timeline on it, but that's probably coming in the next month, 2 months ish, after we finish this calendar booking stuff.
I can wait.
Appreciate it.
No, that looks really cool. Yeah, and it's right on the money for what I'm thinking about doing. So yeah, that's great.
Appreciate it. Cool. All right, so now just I guess general Q&A. If anybody has just general questions, need help with stuff, want to talk agency strategy.
One thing, I had a ticket submitted regarding the citations. I've not checked, to be fair, if there's been any response on that, but some of the citations when I'm doing calls, they're coming back with sort of like a chevron in between 2 speech marks. And then when you click it, it takes you to like I think it says Stammer.ai did not respond or something like that, like an error page. Have you come across that before? Or is it something that I'm doing wrong, do you think? Or?
So I did see that ticket, excuse me, and I did respond and ask you to set up a meeting on my calendar so we can debug it further. I think
sorry.
I wanted to see more about how you're doing those citations. And by citations, I guess you mean telling the user, or at least yourself maybe, where that data came from. Is that right? Like the page it came from?
Yeah, so it's when I'm calling responses through, it'll sort of punctuate the response with a hyperlink, and that'll take you through to the PDF in most cases with what I'm doing. Sometimes it's just a link to the document itself. Sometimes it's a link to the document with a page number on there, and then other times it's the chevron with the 2 dots. But yeah, I'm happy to set up a meeting. Sorry, I hadn't seen the response there, Tim. But thanks.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, you should check. Let me know. My email was just Tim@Stammer.ai. But let me know if you don't get that email. But you should. I responded through our ticketing system, and yeah, we'll check it out and see what's going on. It could be hallucinations, possibly, but maybe it's something else weird going on that we need to look into.
What is that? Hallucinations?
So at the core of what ChatGPT is, right? It's an LLM. It's a large language model, and its ability, the way it works is by predicting in some ways what text comes next, right? And if you don't add instructions in there to kind of only, to be careful and only use links that it knows are real, it will sometimes hallucinate and make a link that that appears real or that it thinks should be real, and then it shows that in the response. Does that kind of make sense? I feel like I'm doing a bad job explaining that concept.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. I've seen, I think there's sort of quite well-known cases, isn't there, where it's sort of ChatGPT is referred to facts which are not actually facts. You know?
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
Is that a similar sort of thing? Yeah, is that what you mean?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
And that's essentially because the probability that the model is saying is highest for that next word in that sentence. And so however the data was structured as the input versus the output, it's creating the probability higher as this fake thing than it is the real thing. And we're starting to kind of see this mimic when people try to upload large amounts of data or scrape large websites with our platform to update their knowledge bases with new data. And what we're starting to see is there's a lot of extra data on web pages that is not applicable or not contextual to what a user would ever ask. Like, a user's never going to ask, what is the link of the header, or a menu item in the header? Like, that's never going to be asked because it's right there. Like, why you just click it. So having all of that metadata and HTML that is in the menu that is shown on every single web page that's scraped on a website is just adding so much extra data to the knowledge base that is not relevant at all. And so what starts to happen is the bigger and bigger that gets, the higher the probability that the bot is actually pulling data that has no contextual reference to the user's message. And so what happens is now the chatbot starts just, oh, I don't know the answer, because the data that it's actually building its response off of is just random links that have it's not even real data. So the workaround for this is data cleansing. Like, how do we take in raw website data and then turn it into something that is actually going to be usable by our bot and the end user? The best way that we found to do this right now is using, and I think we might have discussed this with some guys in here, by going to ChatGPT and using the Web Pilot plugin and asking, like, hey, just generate question and answer pairs based off of this website URL. And then that will give you a basis or a starting point to pull what is going to be most relevant to what somebody might ask based off of this website data. And it excludes everything that's not going to be relevant. And what you can do is then add that data to your knowledge base instead of just scraping the raw website. And we're working on the ability to integrate that whole process that I just mentioned inside our platform natively.
Right. And I know you said before that PDFs aren't necessarily great source material, to be fair.
It's kind of up in the air. PDFs can have a lot of weird stuff in them.
Yeah. Everything that I've used though so far is actually, I'm really impressed with the responses. I've put it out to a few people who I work with to sort of demo for me, and yeah, just put universally good feedback actually. So it's
Awesome.
Yeah, it's positive. Yeah, it's cool.
Once we get all of our content and kind of promotional material updated to match the new lead generation, and the calendar booking, I think that's going to allow us to, like, collectively, as like all of us as agencies, will allow that it's going to flip our offer essentially to become, rather than more of a defensive thing, to an offense. This is going to book more meetings. It's going to generate you more leads. It's going to generate you more revenue. And it will also answer customers' question and reduce customer support costs and increase customer satisfaction. That's the main thing right now. But after lead generation calendar booking, that becomes the secondary thing.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, very interesting. I'd like to have a chat with you. Probably it's not really the right forum for now, but regarding sort of high level and a bit of that, if you wouldn't mind, just a few questions sort of surrounding that at some point as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool.
How's everyone else doing?
Good, thank you. Cheers. I'm enjoying this actually. I'm brand new to this, so any questions I might have might seem a little bit silly. I'm about a
No
month
worries.
in so far. There's just a few things I wanted to know with everybody else, sort of what audience, or is there any success stories that I could listen to? I know that might be a bit of an odd request. I started out originally on doing chatbots for florists,
Okay.
and then now I've broadened my horizon to just go for any small businesses.
Yeah.
There's one of the only use cases. If anyone's
What-
got one, that's amazing.
Yeah, one of the ones, and I'll maybe Drew, maybe if you want to pop in here real quick. There's one on our website homepage that's under lead generation under the use cases tab. And one of our team members, Drew, actually runs a real estate investor agency. And so this is a variation of the chatbot that he's been selling to his clients that has been working just incredibly well. Drew, are you in here?
Yep, I'm here. Yeah, well said. So I have a marketing agency for real estate investors. We primarily do a done for you service, which is Google Ads, Facebook ads, SEO. And so this is kind of just another way to help our investors, not only answer questions, but also further qualify leads without them having to spend time being able to do so. One of the most important, this is in the details, but one of the most important metrics in our world is speed to lead. And so if we're able to capture the attention of a lead using a chatbot versus submitting a form and then having to call somebody back, investors are busy, they're in meetings, they're on other phone calls, they're visiting other houses. That allows us to just further qualify and gain interest before any potential contact between the lead and the investor actually happens. So we qualify them by just asking them a set of questions, which is more so about their property, what type of condition it's in, how soon they're looking to sell, just types of questions that investors are going to want to know when they put together the offer. And so in theory, what should be able to happen is the lead, talks to the chatbot, answers all of those questions. The investor is then able to view all of the information that was submitted. And, we're going to also ask for contact details along the way. Phone number is probably the number one most important piece of info there. And then our investor picks up the phone. It's a super hot lead. They're qualified. The next step in that process is to set an appointment. So as Ross and Tim have been working pretty hard at the back end here, being able to just automatically book appointments will be super huge for my investors, because now there is little to none qualification that has to be done by the investors, and they just get messages that say, hey, you have an appointment booked tomorrow or the next day or whatever. And so big KPI for us is appointments. The more appointments they can do, the more offers they make. The more offers they make, the more deals they close. And obviously that in turn makes them happy with us as the agency. So we're definitely excited to be able to roll all this out and have some more data behind, just how much more efficient it actually is.
Yeah. And the example that I sent in the chat right there at the very bottom of that page, it has the actual base system prompt that is used to collect all that information. And you can kind of see where we are to where we're going. So everything that Drew just said has been enabled with the existing base system prompt, which doesn't collect leads in chat and doesn't send the data out. It's all manual. So now that we're adding all of these updates, it just enhances that workflow that he just mentioned 100x.
Absolutely.
All that stuff is automated now.
Yep. And we as the agency don't do a ton of cold calling or cold emailing for our clients. That is one of the biggest lead sources for real estate investors out there. And so now we have kind of another opportunity to open it up and say, do the cold calling, push them to the site or to a landing page, and then the bot takes over and does all the qualification from there. So the scalability from the investor side becomes 10x what they could do before.
Yeah. And one other quick little thing to add, this can all be done with the API. So
Mhm.
you could set this up behind your SMS channel on high level or whatever CRM you're using. And this whole lead generation process could be done over text message. So instead of it being on the website chat, you could have it be on Facebook Messenger after they opt into an ad. It could be on Google My Business if they're opting in through Google Maps. It could be anything, literally anything. And
Yep.
all of that data will be piped in and then piped out based on where you want it to basically go.
Perfect. That's answered a lot of questions. Just with that, the integrations obviously onto Facebook Meta. I have to download. Is it the Meta for Business, and then I can integrate the bots onto them through there?
Right now, the best way to integrate would be through something like Zapier.
Zapier.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we have a custom Zapier. You can just search for Stammer.ai. Or if you're white labeling it, you can use the Zapier webhook step, which allows you to use our white label API. So it kind of depends. Like if it's something that you're customer facing to your white label customers, you can use the white label API. So it's completely white labeled, no one knows. Or you can, if it's just internal, you can make it super easy. You can use the Stammer AI Zap, and then it'll be easy to, it's less copy and pasting essentially.
I got you. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then I have one last question as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to connect my what's it called, Stripe over, but it's only giving me a US option in the UK. Is there any way
For
around that?
like dollars and pounds, you mean?
So when I try to connect Stripe through the for subscription for obviously my sub accounts, let's say. So I've made a sub account, but for them to buy more tokens for the bots and things like that, I can't connect my Stripe. It only gives me the option to connect it for a US bank account, and I don't know if I had a problem there.
Okay.
Is it available in the UK to do that?
Yeah, that's a new, we've not had that issue before. Usually it will connect fine, but it will only show in USD right now. Can you send me your the email that you used in the chat
Yeah,
to sign
sure.
up, and we'll look into that. Of course, Tim just dropped in, but we'll get that. We'll look into that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Ross.
Yeah, of course, you're welcome. Yeah, cool. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I've got a little ask. Let's say that the client would be a auto detailing business. If we set data set of the packages they include, would the client be able to, let's say, ask for specific procedures, and then the chatbot would look which ones are in the, or which packages have those set procedures, or whatever you want to call them, and then give them the best option for them. just
can-
based on the text that was put into the knowledge database.
Yeah, so I think if I'm understanding you correctly, I think the way that you want to make sure that you structure that data to just be formatted in a way that would make it easy for the chatbot to understand that that's the information for each procedure or within.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That should work. Yeah.
That was a little. I have to play with it myself, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
quick
think
little task.
that's something to play around with, but that should
Yeah,
work.
definitely. Yeah, cool. And by the way, the lead gen and the calendar booking is amazing. It's I need to structure the whole deal all over again because it's
Right.
completely changed.
Yeah.
But it's changed in a unbelievably better.
Yeah, in the
direction,
right
so,
way. Yeah, I agree.
A little weird ask. Is there any not smaller but specific niches that you would say as an agency it would be worth targeting? Yeah, I got some, but like the auto detailing stuff, but
Yeah.
something smaller that was.
So I'll tell you one that I heard last Thursday that was really interesting, and I'm actually gonna pause this part for the video because this is going to go on YouTube.
Yeah. But I just wanted.
Yeah.
Something like that is definitely. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And if you are watching this on YouTube, be sure to join the office hours and you get exclusive info like that.
Yeah, well, been doing this for a few months now. It's worth every second of this. I enjoy those a lot.
Appreciate it.
So thank you.
Yeah. So that one's good. The real estate one is obviously a really good one.
Yeah, right.
The other ones are like local businesses that have the average, like an average order customer value of a couple $100 per lead. And that's where you can start adding the value of these leads. Like if you change again, and I think this is how the shift is going to happen with the entire platform is we're not looking at this as AI chatbots. This is shifting to become a lead generation platform that is being achieved by AI chatbots.
Yeah.
AI chatbots are almost irrelevant, kind of. The thing that businesses only care about is the amount of leads that are being generated, and if the value of those leads are high and quality and all of the things. So I think the value prop is going to shift to where agencies that are building on Stammer are going to have an extreme advantage over everybody else that's trying to charge $5,000, $3,000, like all these obscene prices. Whereas with Stammer, you can build one in 5 seconds, give it out to them for free, and be like, oh yeah, we're not going to charge you until after we generate you 10 leads, because of how the chatbot is going to be set up and trained to collect data automatically every single time somebody interacts with it.
Yeah.
So that structure allows us to kind of bill in a lot of different ways. You could do post, after the month, you could tally the amount of leads that have been generated and be like, okay, you're going to pay us, X amount of dollars per lead. Or there's a lot of ways this kind of opens up as an agency where you're not kind of held down, so to speak, by the traditional model of what we might expect as the AI automation agency, that all the people on YouTube are trying to push. Like it's all this stuff is becoming commoditized so quickly to where now you can go to Fiverr and get it done for like $5. Like any sort of savvy business owner is going to start to know those things. So as an agency, our value starts to become providing good customer support, good customer service, upselling to these, other things like lead generation, calendar booking, all those great things. So.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. And a little one you mentioned with the API, you mentioned Google Maps. What? Because obviously you can put it into Messenger and Facebook, Instagram, which is amazing. But I was just interested what you meant by Google.
Yeah. So the other, maybe a better example or use case is one that we've been getting requests a lot for, is related to the e-commerce niche and being able to get order tracking details. So the use case of a customer coming to a site, where's my order? Oh, well, tell me your tracking number and I'll figure out where your order is. Okay, enter in your tracking number. That is a use case that is similar to the calendar booking, where it's going to call a function. It's going to take the user's response, collect that data and that piece of data, and then it's going to call a function. In this case, it would call an API like aftership. And aftership would then use the value that was entered by the user and search against all of the data that aftership has, because aftership has an API. And then that would
Right.
allow us to return whatever data that aftership gets. And then that is then sent to OpenAI to generate the response, and then the response gets sent back.
Yeah, right. So that's something like the Shopify integration that we were talking about last week. So that's
Similar.
or is that standalone?
It's no, it's integrated, but the way that we're approaching this is we're not going to be building the entire integration directly to aftership. What we'll
Right,
do
of course.
is-
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
What we'll do to
Right.
start, and similarly to like a Google Maps example, is we'll build the text box or text field that will allow you to paste in your Google Maps API key or your aftership API key. And that will allow us to build a lot of these specific use cases without having to build the entire infrastructure around one app for one edge case. It just allows you to put that field and then call that function. Because the platform is our focus. So we're trying to build the infrastructure to allow all these use cases that you guys want to do by just providing it, not necessarily doing it for you. Like we want
Understood. Yeah, right.
the ability to do these things.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super exciting when you start talking about all the extra APIs that you're going to be able to add in and work with as well. I mean, you can automate. Well, you'll be able to automate pretty much anything.
And that's where it gets really exciting, is like
Yeah.
we start to get to a point where it's like Stammers is shifting like in front of our eyes right now, and it's going away from AI chatbots to becoming more about holistic AI agents. What does that mean? I don't know. Like, I think each use case is very specific and very unique depending on the Google Maps or aftership, whatever it may be. If we can create that infrastructure to allow each of those use cases to be created and managed easily and simply, like everything else in our platform, and then being able to share those things with others, that's, I think, where this kind of supercharges for us, but also for you guys as agency owners inside of our community. One of the original things that we wanted to do from the very beginning was this idea of a marketplace where each agency, and I know Dan's not in this meeting today, but he has some really cool use cases that was like so out of what we expected our system to be utilized. It would be so cool if that use case could be given and shared to the rest of the community, and then everyone else could simply clone, add that into your site. He could potentially even charge like 99 cents or $100 for that, and then you could clone. And I think that's where we start to build this community outside of just outside of the infrastructure of the platform. Use cases is where you can actually take advantage of everything. And I think it's through these conversations that we have that these use cases start to become easier to understand and easier to sell as well.
The marketplace is a great idea. Like, lease out your prompts, or get a subscription on them if they're being used, or it's a great idea. Fantastic.
Yeah. Tim, we had a question from Robert about his Stripe account. Robert, can you just quickly rehash that real quick, please?
So yeah, basically what was happening is I was going to sign into my Stripe account
Mhm.
on my Stammer.ai that when I go to sign in, the contact information for me to fill out would only let me fill out in for a USA address and then for a US bank. So it wouldn't give me the option to do it for obviously a UK resident.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, we did not realize that. So let me let us do some research. And can you throw your email if we don't already
I
have
got
it?
it. I got
Oh,
it.
perfect.
I already pulled
It's
it.
probably some setting we need to enable for Stripe Connect. Maybe it doesn't support UK, but I find that difficult to believe. We'll do some research and sort it out.
No
Probably just we need
problem.
to enable something.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Ross.
I just put his email in admin chat, Tim.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Got it. I will take a look and let me do some research and we will get back to you.
No problem. One more question, Ross.
Yeah.
Are there any specific integrations or partnerships with other software tools or platforms that will complement, obviously, Stammer? So like make.com, or just Zapier?
So Zapier is the one like native integration that we have, but the way that we've kind of structured it is because we have a white label API that allows you to connect to kind of anything in the world, essentially, as long as it has the ability to connect with webhooks. So with Zapier being kind of the point where everything kind of comes in, you can have the white label API be that point in Zapier to then send out data to anything else.
Okay. I think I understand.
So I'll show you an example.
Ross, would you mind just explaining what a webhook is, please?
Yeah. A webhook is a URL that can have data be sent to it. So for example, if you have a CRM, like in Go High Level, you can have an automation sequence that the trigger is a webhook. And so what happens is some other system, i.e. our system, Stammer, what will happen is a user will fill out all of their information in the form. And then when they click submit on the form, all of the information that they just entered will be sent to the webhook URL that you have defined. And what happens is all of that data can actually be read by that receiving system that generated that webhook URL.
Mm-hmm.
And with, for example, with GHL or any CRM, you can then pull that data out from that webhook and then correlate or map those data points to different custom fields in your CRM.
Right, got you. Okay, thanks.
So the first version of this is you would do a trigger. It might look something like this: Facebook to Stammer.ai to Facebook. So the trigger that comes in will be a new message from Facebook. We're then going to take that message. We're then going to take that message and send it to Stammer AI chatbot. And then that is going to generate us a response in this step, which we can then send back to that conversation in Facebook. So this is version 1. The pros of this is it's super easy to connect to your chatbot because it's like you pasting in 2 or 3 things. But the cons of this is it says Stammer. So if you're white labeling the entire platform and you want this to happen, but you don't want to say Stammer, what do we do? Instead of this middle step being Stammer, we can replace this with a webhook event. And so the same way that I just mentioned with that example at GHL, we're going to be sending the data, the message from Facebook. We're going to be sending that message to Stammer's URL. And that URL can be found when you go to under your account API, or documentation, message app, this is going to be that webhook URL. And so for me, it's going to say app.stammer.ai. But if you log into your white labeled version of the platform, for example, mine is called SR Chatbot, and I go to API here, it's going to be white labeled. And so this will make it so that way your customers are only interfacing with whatever your white labeled URLs and names and everything is. So Stammer is completely hidden. And this way you can set up the same example or the same use case, but no Stammer is never being shown because you're using the white label API. And I have a step-by-step tutorial that shows you how to do this that I can send you as well.
Have I got this right then? So if you wouldn't mind just going back to Zapier. So the post is created in the Facebook group. That is then sent to the webhook. And then the webhook goes to Stammer. Stammer goes back to the webhook, and then the webhook goes to Facebook. Is that right?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. Right, I understand. Thanks.
Yeah. So when it's filled out, oh, no, it's not filled out. But yeah, so there's basically just two different options you can use. One of the things that we are working towards is actually we're making a white labeled app version of the actual Zapier app. That will be coming probably after calendar booking. But yeah, hopefully that didn't confuse anybody more.
Excuse me, and this would be set up for each client specifically, right? For their use case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that, sorry. Go on.
The webhook would be generated. So like the data that you're sending that would be a unique webhook URL that is generated from the client's CRM.
Right. From the client's, the link is gotten from the client's chatbot or inside our dashboard.
The link to where you're sending the data to is going to be coming from somewhere else, and you're going to be pasting it inside.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just so everyone's visually on the same page. That is where you do that is right here. You'd paste in that webhook URL right here. And so any of the data that's collected from this specific chatbot is going to be sent to this specific website or webhook URL.
So, for example, if we're using high level, which I'm just looking at the minute, so I keep on about that, but if so I could get the webhook from there, paste that in there, and then any of these fields which were collected during the chat, that would then auto populate the contacts fields or whatever in the CRM.
Correct.
Got you.
Yeah, so this is the webhook URL right here. And then if I go into GHL, I think yeah, so the trigger, so this is what it would look like in GHL. The trigger would be inbound webhook. And this is the URL that it generates for me. I'm going to copy this URL. I then go into here and I would paste that URL in right here.
Got you.
And then I would click save. And then I would click here for more details. And then I would click test webhook. And that would allow me to send some sample data, which then allows me to save this automation. And then I can then create a new contact, and then the information from the webhook. So like, for example, this is the email that they entered into the form. I can map that to the email value in their contact on GHL.
Mhm.
And this can be done with anything. So if you make a custom value inside GHL, custom fields, like I could have any of these questions be asked by the AI chatbot, and then if they answer it, I could then map their answer to one of these values. Right?
Insane,
Yeah.
man.
And then that process can also be used as a trigger. It becomes like kind of meta. Like once you get all of the data into the platform, lots of things can happen. And I think that's where we don't necessarily lose people, but I think that's where it kind of becomes a little overwhelming, because there's so much possibility of what you can actually do in terms of qualification, automations, all the stuff. But yeah. I'll put my link in the chat, and you can feel free to schedule a meeting. We can talk GHL more.
Cool, thanks.
And if anybody else too that's listening wants to talk GHL as well, or needs help with that, feel free to look as well.
Yeah, if anyone hasn't seen it, it's definitely worth a look. It's really interesting. A few good videos, sort of beginner videos on YouTube as well. Just sort of gives you an overview of the features.
Yeah, it is. It's I have a love-hate relationship with GHL, to be honest.
Yeah, I can see why. It's massive. Like there's so much to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. But yeah, it's great. So
If I
cool.
may,
Sorry?
this might be a dumb question, but a quick difference between Zapier and Go High Level.
Just in general?
Yeah, is there a big difference in what Go High Level can do and Zapier can't, or is it just the same service on two different codes?
Think of this as Zapier in terms of like automations. GHL is this.
Right.
So like if you just need automations, you don't need any of this other stuff. Zapier's the way to go. But if you need building a pipeline, email management, phone calls, blah, 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 then GHL is great. Having GHL as an agency owner to just have as your backbone for building your projects or idea is amazing.
All right.
That's what I've just come to the conclusion of, to be honest. I'm going to shut my other websites down and just move it onto there, because it's not super cheap. But if you've got a few other websites running already,
yep,
then if you can move those onto there and then utilize all the CRM, the marketing, you can automate text messages to people, like emails, Instagram, like all this sort of stuff. There's so much to do, and I think the fact that it's just one fee as well, it does seem good to me.
Yeah, they do get sneaky expensive when they start upselling you on all the other stuff. So just be.
I did clock that as well. Yeah.
Be warned. Yeah. I probably pay almost close to $2,000 a month for GHL, like all in, like everything.
Yeah, I can see that, because each of the automations, everything there's a small cost associated.
Like, oh, another $500 a month. Another $500. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I can see.
But
if you're making 10 a month,
yeah, so, I mean, that's like, I was on a call with somebody that was like, I'm brand new, I'm just getting started, like how do whatever, and I was like, to be honest, like most of that's going to be a distraction. Like you're going to go down the GHL rabbit hole and get lost, and not even like what you need to be focused on is marketing and sales and actually getting people to buy the thing, and then start working on this other stuff on the back end. Like I know it's kind of like a chicken and egg scenario, but GHL is such a death trap when it comes to features that you can get so lost in the sauce with GHL, to be honest. And
Yeah, I could see
yeah.
that. It's all new to me as well, you know. I'm sort of literally just only looked at it first time last week, but it does feel like there's too much there for me, really. You know, I'm just trying to narrow
It's
it
too much for
down.
customers. Like if you
But-
try to onboard or show it, like they're gonna be like, there's no way I'm using this. Like,
Yeah.
so like when I mean, we can talk about this more later, but like it's simplicity. Like I want to get to the point of the problem solution of a client, figure out what is going to solve that problem based on the software stack that we have available to them, build it out for them, and then never give them access.
Yeah.
Because they don't need it. If they want it, great. But like most of the time, people don't care. They just want to make things work and get updates, and then everybody's happy. So yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to hijack.
No worries. No worries.
Conversation.
All right. Well,
All right,
thanks
guys. Well,
everyone
I've got
for
to go
joining.
anyway, but thanks so much again for your time. I find it all fascinating, and yeah, I'll be on one of the next ones soon.
Awesome. Thank
Bye,
you
everyone.
everyone for
Good luck.
joining.
Take care. Bye.
Appreciate it. Talk to everyone next
Thank
week.
you. Talk to you all later.
Bye.
Thank you, all guys.